Hi, I'm Marianne Williamson. In the mid-1970s, I began reading a set of books called A Course in Miracles. And in 1983, I began speaking about the principles of the Course to a small group of people in Los Angeles. In 1992, my first book was published. It was called A Return to Love, Reflections on the Principles in A Course in Miracles. I took all of the information from the Course as I understood it, all of the information that I had put together for the lectures that I had been giving for the 10 years previous to this. I put them in this book, and I was one fortunate girl, because Oprah Winfrey read the book, and she said she loved it. She said it was her favorite book up until that point of her life. She bought 1,000 copies. She put me on the Oprah show. And from that point forward, I had a national and international career. At that time, books like this were just starting to sort of hit the scene. Louise Hay. Wayne Dyer had already started writing, but at that time he became so big. Deepak Chopra, Gary Zukav, James Redfield, and others. It was an exciting time, and all of those books together helped spawn a movement, a spiritual movement. Now there are so many books, there are so many tapes, there's so many authors, and there's so much conversation about these principles, these universal principles at the heart of all the great religious and spiritual traditions that actually make a difference in our lives when we apply them on a practical level. That is what the Course in Miracles did for me. The Course is not a religion. It is a self-study program of spiritual psychotherapy, a psychological mind training, which helps us relinquish a thought system based on fear and accept instead a thought system based on love. You know, at this point, it's not like this kind of information is that new to any of us anymore, is it? We've all read the same books. We've all listened to the same tapes. And so for any of us, when we're doing our work now, we are not necessarily doing it in order to learn something new, but to access more deeply the information that by now we already know, we've already read the books. So in my life, both in terms of my own work as a seeker, trying to make all this information that I know abstractly more real in my own life and to practice it more fully on a practical level in my own life, and also to teach it in a more meaningful way. I'm always looking for ways that I can extend my ability, expand my ability to both practice the principles and teach them effectively. Now, this online course exists in order for me to do just that. With this online course, I'm taking the information from A Course in Miracles as I understand it, the information placed in the foundation of A Return to Love, and we've turned it into this online course. Here you will come to understand what are the basic principles of A Course in Miracles and how are they explained and how are they expanded upon in my book, A Return to Love. What we all want now is to not just know more information. What we want now is to be able to apply the information in practical ways. And that's what the Course in Miracles tells us. It says that the belief in God of itself doesn't mean so much. It is an experience of God that we all want. And that experience is our love for each other. The Course in Miracles says that many people conspire with God who do not yet believe in Him. This isn't about theory. This isn't about theology. This isn't even about belief. It's about the experience of a way to live our lives and to apply the principles of an open-hearted perspective, whether it's in our work, whether it's in our relationships, whether it's in our health, whether it's with money, whether it's with politics, whether it's with anything. You know, the Course in Miracles says everything we go through is a relationship. So everything stems first and foremost from our relationship with God who is within us, and then to the extent to which we're aligned in our relationship with our primary source, which is God. To that extent, we are aligned with other people. But when we are not aligned with God, when we are not aligned with love, when we are attacking and judging and blaming rather than loving and forgiving and blessing, this hurts us in our relationships with other people. And because it hurts us in our relationships with other people, it hurts us in our relationships at work, in our intimacy, in our marriages, with our children, with our parents, with our colleagues, and even with ourselves and our own bodies. So I hope that you will join with me. I hope that you will take this journey with me on this online course and through the calls that we will be doing afterwards. Let's go deep. I'm not telling you that with this online course you're necessarily going to learn so much that you don't already know. But I do think, and I certainly hope, that with this course you will take some principles, some of which might be new to you, but many of which might not be new, But to take them from that entrenched place where it's just abstraction, it's just intellect, it's just a knowing, but a knowing that we don't know how to apply. And you will be able to see how these things apply in very practical ways to the relationships with the people that you like, relationships with the people that you love, and at least as significantly, in your relationships with people that you don't like and that you don't love, people you feel have hurt you, people you feel have betrayed you. Learn how to forgive the past so that your future can open up in an entirely new way. If you bring the unforgiveness of the past and the pain of the past and the woundedness of the past, the lovelessness of the past into the present, then your future cannot open up into something new. It's time to hit a cosmic reset button, to drop the past, to live in the miracle of the present so that the future can be something different. That's what it means to be reborn. It means to enter into the present without the past. This online course will help you do it because the principles of the course teach us how to do it. And to the best of my ability, in this online course, I will be teaching those principles, telling stories about how they've applied in my own life and how they've been applied in the lives of people that I've witnessed, that I've seen. And I've in my own life and in the lives of people that I know, I've seen these changes from pain to peace, from fear to love, and from the worst kind of stuckness and entrenched emotion and psychological patterns that just keep us bound in our lives to something free, something open, something new, and something happy. That is what I see in my life when I apply these principles. You know, I always say my life works really well when I practice what I preach. I never doubt these principles. Sometimes I doubt myself because I sometimes don't practice them as much as I wish, and you just try and you get it right where you got it wrong last time. But one thing I do not doubt is that these principles do work when we apply them. I hope that you'll come with me on this journey as together we seek to not only learn the principles, but apply the principles in very practical ways so that forgiveness and compassion and faith and love do more than just make us more metaphysically complicated. They make us new people. They give us new minds, new emotional bodies, new nervous systems. We do become very new in very meaningful ways. And then we have lives that we did not have before, and very different than the lives that we would have lived had we not practiced these principles. We think life is complicated, but underneath the differences, underneath the complication, there's something very simple. And that is when we are aligned with love, when we deviate from love, and when we return to love. I hope that you will more than return to love. I hope that you will return to this course. I hope that you will return not only to the Course in Miracles if you feel moved, but you will return to this online course to hear the stories, to hear the meditations, to think about them, to ruminate, to reflect. Reflect on this online course the way I reflected on A Course in Miracles. And it makes me very happy to think that this might actually be your entrance into a deeper study of the Course in Miracles. But whether you feel like just hearing the basic principles or in time taking that deep dive into the Course in Miracles itself, I can promise you, even being exposed to these principles cannot but be a blessing on your life. I want to read you something from the Course in Miracles. It says, "The thought of peace was given to God's Son," and that means all of us, "the instant that his mind had thought of war. There was no need for such a thought before, for peace was given without opposite and merely was. But when the mind is split, there is a need of healing. So the thought that has the power to heal the split became a part of every fragment of the mind that still was one, but failed to recognize its oneness. Now it did not know itself and thought its own identity was lost." That's the story of each and every one of us. We were created in peace. You know, the Course in Miracles does use traditional Christian terms, but in very non-traditional ways. It says that we are all the sons of God, which means in Course terms, we are all thoughts in the mind of God. We are the effect, the cause of which is love. We are aspects of the mind of God and nothing less, and created in that place, and there eternally we are at peace. But we have a thought that we are separate, and the only thing that needs to be healed in our lives and on our planet is a healing of that thought, a healing of that thought of separation. That's what the Course in Miracles is all about, healing that thought that we have, that we are separate from each other. But there's a mindset, there's an entire way of looking at the world, which is predicated on this belief that we're separate from each other. The Course in Miracles calls it the ego mind. And that is the source of all our problem, this belief that we're separate from each other. A Course in Miracles is a mind training, a psychological training in relinquishing that thought and accepting instead the thought that replaces it. And that is the thought that we are one. Once again, how do we apply that? How do we apply that in order to achieve the ultimate goal of A Course in Miracles, which is inner peace? To the best of my ability, that's what I've done with this online course. Just as to the best of my ability, that is what I've explained in my book, A Return to Love. How to heal that thought that we are separate, and thus to heal the fear that that thought of separation always creates. We're not separate. We are one. And we don't really dwell in fear, except in this hallucination that we're having. We dwell in love, and we can return to love. Sometimes it takes a little practice. Sometimes it's easier than at other times. But with this course, the online course, with my book, A Return to Love, I think it will become easier and easier as together we actually apply the principles of A Course in Miracles and find inner peace.